This is for the players.
I'm Ryan Betson from the Pop Culturists, and this is our review of The Inpatient on PlayStation VR. Let's get the formalities out of the way. We do need to say that PlayStation Australia did provide us the copy for this game, so massive thank you to them. We do truly appreciate it. But let's get things started. The Inpatient is the latest game from Supermassive Games, the guys that made Until Dawn, the smash hit from what, 2015, I think it was? Yeah, 2015. In fact, The Inpatient is a prequel to the original Until Dawn, and it's set about 60 years prior in the Blackwood Sanatorium, or mental asylum, I guess. So you play as a character, either male or female, and of the race you choose, where you're in the sanatorium for amnesia, they say. So the whole idea is for you to get some of your memories back and potentially even escape some bad things. My first run of this game probably took about 4-ish hours. There was a big break in the middle where the spooks got me a little too hard and I had to stop playing. I needed to go play a less spooks game to sort of like bring my fear levels down. It got really intense there for a minute and kind of caught me off guard, and I had to stop. But that's one thing this game is full of. The game is 1000% full of spooks. The original Until Dawn was just as full of spooks, but having it in VR kind of amps it up a little bit. Actually, there's no kinda about it. It totally amps everything up. As everyone knows, when you're normally playing a game with a controller, you're looking at the TV, you have the easy out. So if you ever get too spooks, you can pull out your phone, you can check Facebook and get scared for a whole different reason. Or you can, look over there and look away, and there's millions of distractions that prevent from the spooks from getting too hard. But when you're in VR, it literally engulfs you. Especially when you're playing with headphones as well. Now, I was using the Razer Man-O-War 7.1, so it had a really good soundstage, had a really good soundstage, which kind of added to that sort of claustrophobia and just fear. So with the whole idea of your character is to get your memory back, a lot of the key storytelling in this game is focused through those memories. And many of those memories are sort of pickups, like little collectibles throughout the game. In the same vein as the original Until Dawn, you'll see a little glimmer, like a little shiny thing. You walk over there, pick that up, and it would trigger a memory. Similar to the original, The Inpatient does also use the butterfly effect system. The whole idea is, depending on how you answer particular conversations, can greatly change how the story unfolds. Now, at this stage, as I mentioned, I have only played through the once. Now, with a 4-hour turnaround, you probably could do it again. But I had a quite abrupt ending. I'm not going to say what it is, but it was quite abrupt and it was unexpected. So after those actions have happened and then the credits hit, I've gone, oh, okay, that's kind of But then looking at the trophy list, I was able to see that there was actually a number of outcomes that I didn't experience. I didn't even come close to experiencing. So that alone has piqued my interest to go back and finish it off and try again. Now, having not played Until Dawn outside of the first maybe hour and a bit, the copy on the shelf there is Josh's. I've had it for about a year and a half, if not more, and I still haven't played it. So I'm unaware if there's any nods or throwbacks to the original. Now, there's certainly no throwbacks to Until Dawn Rush of Blood, which seems to be its standalone VR experience. There's no like carnivals or anything cool like that. It is a very serious game. It is a very linear game within reason. I said once you're down a certain path, you can bend that path, but you're still going down a forward motion. You're still going down a very particular path. which is perfectly fine by me. It's very clearly a story-based experience, and that's what it wants you to get out of it. So as a result, there's not a lot of game-changing VR implementations, I guess. Now, when I say that, I mean in terms of like gunplay or any sort of drastic movements with your hands. A lot of it is just walking around, walking in a direction, walking through corridors, experiencing memories, picking up the occasional thing here and there. So without gunplay or any additional movement involved, it can become pretty obvious when the tracking doesn't work. So I played it with the Move controllers because it did recommend that's the best way to play. And one of my things with the VR is I do like the movement of the hands, and it makes me feel like I'm in it more, because the whole idea of VR is immersion, and what's more immersive than having your hands, right? However, with the tracking being not quite as good as it could have been, it did take me out of it more than it got me immersed. An example would be, in order to prevent you from clipping through items, which makes sense, the game would choose when to stop your reach. Now, granted, that seems like a really good idea on paper. However, every time I tried to reach for something, it would always stop short, or I would hit the table incorrectly and it would stop, and it would never be able to reach the exact thing that I wanted. Without there being any big chase sequence or anything where I had to move quickly and pick things up quickly as I ran, it never was a true detriment, but it was a massive inconvenience. Something as simple as, oh, there's a cool thing on the table, pick it up, and the game would just stop earlier or move and not quite be where I want it to be. And another thing as well, the game didn't quite match up where your body is, and you'd have a lot of weird wrist action and things would bend not how they were supposed to. But speaking of body though, to the game's credit, it gives you a full body. So not just like arms or floating hands, like it gave you a torso, it gives you your arms, and it also gives you legs. Like most VR games just choose to opt out of legs. The whole idea being it's going to weird you out looking down and seeing another person's legs and they're moving differently to what you'd think. If anything, it kind of made it more legit for me. Like when I found out by accident, I was talking to a guy on a bed and I looked down and I'm like, that's my toes? Oh man. And then I moved around and they're my toes. It's pretty cool. But speaking of movement though, as I did mention, it is a lot of walking. It's a lot of moving in places. There, as far as I was aware, I couldn't find a sprint button, so everything was really slow and you kind of plodded your way through, which did add a lot to the spooks, add a lot of atmosphere, but I found it more inconvenient than anything. Like, it's just a big long hallway. I'm like, I just want to scoot down that hallway. Just give me a slight sprint. Give me a little bit of a pump, a little bit of oomph. Bring down the hallway like that. But you just kind of dawdle your way through, and it's fine. But how movement is handled in this game, it's kind of what's used commonly, and that being the thumb button, the move button on the left controller pushes you forward. Unlike Skyrim VR, where it's all about where your hand's located, you just push the button and you'll only walk forward. There is no way to actually step back. The only way to go back is you use the right move controller, press the thumb button, but have it pointing behind you, and that will give you a 180. And if you did want to turn left or right, you would hold the thumb button and tilt the controller either left or right. It did have the option for, I believe, 30, 45, maybe one more, and then free mode. I found with the game moving as slow as it was, the free mode didn't really work for me. I'm not a big fan of the jumping in turns. I feel that actually increased my motion sickness rather than improving on it, where the free mode here was just too slow and it actually made me feel more sick. Which is weird, right? You'd think fast movement would make you want to hurl. Apparently not. The game looks crisp as shit though. Surprisingly crisp. Now, I was playing on a PS4 Pro, so I do know that there is that added benefit of the Pro in terms of its ability to pump out a little bit more image quality through the 1080p headset. When you're looking at faces or any of the environments, it looked quite sharp. It looked pretty good. However, the game being focused in a mostly dark environment, it actually kind of showed off the screen door effect a little bit more. Now, with me, I don't consider that a negative because I understand that when you put a screen 10 centimeters away from your face, you're going to get some pixelation. It's just how it works. It's just common knowledge. But there are some people that I know that will actually turn them off and they will not play it because to them that ruins the immersion. I am able to see through it. I can't just ignore it. It just becomes part of the experience. But overall, I enjoyed my time with the Inpatient, as it had a lot of quality spooks and enough to make me stop playing the game for a while because I got a little bit too spooked. But I said I'm not really a strong person for scares anyway. The movement was fine. I wish it was a little bit faster so I could use the free mode and really get that a little bit more immersed. I did really like the atmosphere of the game. It really gave off this horrifyingly creepy vibe, and I did like the story that it told, even though I feel in my first playthrough I didn't get all the story that I was intended to. On a good note though, that makes me want to go back and check it out. But would I recommend it? That depends. So I think it's about $55 at launch, which is okay. It's not its AAA price or anything, but it may be a little bit too much for you for a 4-hour experience, regardless of multiple playthroughs. And if you're someone that's not really into spooks, you're probably not going to want to invest your money. But then if you're not into spooks, why are you buying it to begin with? You know it's not going to be your kind of game. Put it simply, I would recommend it for one big reason. The big reason is we need to support PlayStation VR. It is so cool that there are developers like Supermassive which aren't just investing one game, they're investing multiple games. So they did Until Dawn Rush of Blood. They've now got the Inpatient, and next month they'll have Bravo Team. So that's 3 pretty big games from the one dev. That's awesome. So what we need to do now is to get other devs in, and the only way to do that is by buying and supporting PlayStation VR. If you have a PSVR, you're going to want some cool experiences. This is without a doubt a cool experience. It's not without its flaws, of course, but it is a good experience. And if you love that Until Dawn franchise, you're going to find yourself right at home. But if you're still a little bit unsure and you kind of want to see some gameplay before you dive on in with your hard-earned cash, come join me tonight on Tuesday the 22nd of January. I'll be streaming probably the first hour or 2 hours maybe on our YouTube, this YouTube in fact, and our Twitch channel. So whichever one you like, be sure to come check us out. To ensure that you do get a nicely reminder to come check out that stream tonight, be sure to subscribe and click that little notification thing, and you'll be like, hey, these guys are streaming the Inpatient. So come check it out with us. And of course, massive thank you to PlayStation Australia for providing us the code for the Inpatient. It's awesome. We truly appreciate it. But of course, if you want more PlayStation content, be sure to jump into For the Players, the Pop Culture's PlayStation podcast, every Monday morning at 9 AM. I'm wearing a shirt, the sign's behind me. It's jam-packed full of PlayStation goodness. It's made right here in Australia. But anyways, I'm Ryan Betson from the Pop Culturist, and that was our review of The Inpatient on PlayStation VR.